This will be Amos part 3, and I've got to go back and take a look because I didn't have much left here, and it was back here, and I missed it, because we're talking about who poured out the surface of the earth. YHVH is his name. It is he who flashes forth. Well, oops. It is he? It is? Are we calling our creator an it here? Do we have blasphemy in the Bible? Now, I didn't see that before. That one slipped by me. But there it is. There's blasphemy in the Bible. It is calling our creator an it is he. Okay? Just to let you in on that a little bit. Okay. Now, when I went through here to look at this, I started taking out a few of these words, and then I'm realizing that this isn't going to make it either, because he who flashes forth destruction upon the strong, well, he who flashes forth destruction, if he is going to do it on the strong, he'd be talking who it is, so that the destruction comes onto the fortress. No. They hate who reproves in the gate, and they abhorred who speaks integrity. Because you impose heavy rent on the poor. So this here, even though it's grouped together, it's just not enough to continue. These just don't continue correctly to give us a place, a time, and it's just words. Here, transgressions, and then if it's our creator speaking, your sins are great. Now the problem here with that is a sin is a sin. They aren't great or less, they are just evil against our creator. So none of this is going to make it. Okay, plain and simple, there's not enough there. So actually what we done in the last video got 0. Okay, all the text went out. I left off here. Now, this is more or less a prophecy, or it seems to me like we're finally getting to a prophecy, because we're talking about something that happens more than just 2 verses. YHVH said, thus he showed me. Well, this part doesn't hook, obviously. Thus he showed me. So let's put thus YHVH showed me, Amos. And I would have to say, if he's saying he showed him, he wouldn't be the one standing at the vertical wall. Okay. Thus YHVH showed me one standing, I would say an angel, but I want to just put one standing by a wall. And a vertical wall, I guess, is the description of how true it is. Okay, with a plumb line as his hand. Then YHVH said to me, what do you see? I don't need his name here because we know who the prophet is. And I said, a plumb line. Well, he should say, I said, one with a plumb line. So we have those words added. Then our Lord said, I am about to put a plumb line in the midst of my people Israel. Now, we still don't know if this is the kingdom, in the midst of my people, in the midst of Israel, if we put Israel is going to be the one that are the bad guys, which they are, we don't need the words in the midst of me, but put Israel as we're talking about the kingdom of Israel. And now we have 3 verses, 3 verses, and 3 verses. So far the verses are actually, we've followed something in order here. I will spare them no longer. Their high places will be desolate. So I need to add there, here. There. And what we have before was learned is that these are tall pillars. And this, we know, is going to be on top of them. They put an idol. It would be of the female goddess or of her father or the daughter of a foreign god. Her god would be on top of it, which would be Ra. I will spare them no longer. It should have put 4 here or there, and I will spare them no longer, and their tall pillars. Yeah, I put and their tall pillars will be not desolate. That isn't what you would do if you're removing a tall pillar, you're breaking them down, will be destroyed. Okay, now we've got that straightened up. And the temples of Israel, they aren't sanctuaries, they're temples, because they're putting false idols in these temples saying, here's your God. And the temples in Israel, not of Israel, in Israel. Just these, all these little words have to be corrected when you do this. Israel. Laid waste. They too will be, and I would say that I'm adding here this, but I would add destroyed too. Like this, and get rid of this, laid waste. Will be toppled. Let's put toppled here. Toppled. I don't know how to spell it. Toppled. Okay, let me see if that's actually the word I want here before I go any further. Collapse phone, okay. Toppled, okay, this will be the more correct word. Destroyed and then toppled would be the relationship of trying to not use the same word in the next verse. I'll spare them no longer, and their tall pillars will be destroyed. And I will put and her here and say yes, not, and remove the word the. And her tall pillars will be destroyed, and their temples and because it has to be more than one, and their temples in Israel will be toppled. It's not, then I will do it, because it's after, he's telling them this is what's going to happen, so it won't be the word then here. Well, if they're rising up, this is it has to be I will, and this has to go here to read right today's language. I will rise up, and here I would say who, and it would have been the Assyrians. Syrians. A here. And this has to be green. Assyrians against the tribes. Or against the kingdom. Now, tribes for Jeroboam. Now the problem comes is this actually doesn't happen for a long time. And I guess I don't need the words here with the sword, because if they know they're coming for war. A war is to take away them. If they're doing a battle, they're just fighting against each other at that time. The war is conquering the land. I mean, I've got to kind of try to define the difference between words at all times. Don't need one word meaning two different things. The better they are not that way, the better the text will always read. Now the problem here is this is a 2 verse. So it would almost be, yeah, I guess I would have to, and with their swords they will be captives. Now this would be true even if this is when it happened the first time. I mean, West Manasseh was taken first. Let me get you a graphic or a map to show you what I'm talking about. There are 2 times that Israel gets taken over. And the first time, it's Aram. Okay, and Aram comes down and takes over East Manasseh. Okay. And the next time it happens, the next time it happens, it's almost, this is true. Everything but here, they didn't capture this part. Okay. This was still with Judah, remained left with Judah. but this is what Assyria took the second time, or this is what the Assyrians took. Okay, so now that you got that understanding, that point, this is now pointing towards Aram and not the Assyrians. Okay, so now that I've corrected this here one, I will raise up now Aram against this would have to be West Manasseh, and let me see how I can not screw up that name. Take it over here. No, it would have been East Manasseh, excuse me. The answer would be against the tribe, and I would say East. And well, they're the bad guys, so it has to be in ASSEH. Okay. And this is the truth. Now that we've got that, I got to put it back up here like this, and then because I might be using that again. Now against the tribe East Manasseh, I guess if I put a little dash in between, and we don't need for who they are, and this would not be needed to add because now we know this is of Israel because it says it's from Israel. But we don't need to know Jeroboam. We already know it's Jeroboam. Now we have actually a good start here of this prophecy from Amos, if his name is really Amos. But the object is we're finding text that is now starting to have a story, okay? And if you see it, this is what our Creator does. I mean, this is a really good showing or explaining here. Now we don't need this text here, okay? But the object is how could this guy here know that what Amos is saying? There's no story in between here, okay? So there has to be an understanding that Amos went and started speaking around in probably Bethel, and then the priest here it wouldn't be of, it would be in. So sent a messenger. They had runners back then that would run. They really didn't need horses. It wasn't that long, whatever. And it depends on where Jeroboam was at. And I don't have a map. Well, I do with mileage on it here. Let me see, because a king would not be, because we're talking about here, and if he's in around here, we're talking what, 30 miles, 40 miles? Okay, even if, okay, let's put a messenger and let's have him riding a horse, I guess, because they didn't have horses, they used donkeys. But sent a messenger Yeah, too many S's. I didn't notice that until the end there. To Jeroboam. Okay. So we have to put up text here that I'm just going to grab this word and then, oops, that's not what I'm looking for, and do that again, and then okay, so this is the text of this is what was said by then Amos went into Bethel and started proclaiming on the streets this warning from our Creator about how East Manasseh is going to be overthrown. So this guy sends a messenger to Jeroboam saying, Amos has conspired against you in the if Amos is conspired against him and he's known by Amos, or then it would not be a messenger from Judah. So okay, which is key, because let me point out here something, because up here at the very beginning, no, it was, they didn't put it here. But he has to say a prophet from, it has to be a prophet from, okay. Oops. For that much we now know. This would be bold, this would be bold, and then this would be all italic and in gray. I added it, but you can see now why I added this text. Okay, so let me get back here to where okay, Amos, YHVH'S prophet, space. Saying, Amos, YHVH'S prophet, has conspired against you. And this, I guess this would be in Bethel then. Because if we have the priest in Bethel, then it has to be Bethel is where he was at. That's why he sent him. So that, because it was close to Judah, and I know the story is that a prophet from Judah came, and I don't think we actually know that prophet. And it would be interesting to see that. That's why I was thinking it was Amos, but now the text is telling me that see, not when the Jeroboam started this thing of, wait a second, because okay, this is okay. I don't know when Shah lost Bechet lost the Manasseh as far as time-wise. This is 15 years. So this would have been saying this king and this king, and he would have done it later here in this year. But he was also a prophet then, so in Asa. I'm just trying to make sure that this is very truthful when it's done. I'm going to zip it back up to the top here. It has to be Asa here, okay? That's the truth here, because you just seen the timeline that would say that it would have been later. Yeah, I'm saying it's going to be here. Asa and Jeroboam is what the text is saying. They're now completed. Okay. And Jeroboam was a son, I think, from David. Because they wanted to make sure they were still, when they were, see what happened was they were divided. And they didn't have a king over them, but it was announced that our Creator had divided. So they went and they were asking for, is there any descendant from David that we can have as a king? Because they wanted the promise of Jesus to come, and they wanted to keep the promise of our Creator as maybe a son from David came through that side or that kingdom. So I'm going to put a son from David, and I've got to check on that to see what I've got in my notes. Okay. Now we have the right time. In this text here, this is just going to be gone. This is done for. So all we have is this now. And we got to have a third verse here, somewhere here. Got to be truthful. Okay, now that we've got the beginning straightened out here, and we actually have, whoops. I forgot we had some text there. That must have been at the end of 1. Because I know in 2 we didn't have anything when I went back and looked at it. Okay. Now we're starting to have the text have us a real prophecy, not this crap saying Amos YHVH'S prophet and I guess it would be like that since I added it, and then because when I'm reading it, it's reading as it should be divided. Has conspired against you. And it's not the land who's able to do it, the people. The people are oh no, don't let the text fall apart this quickly. And Saint Amos, YHVH'S prophet, has conspired against you. In the midst of Bethel is where he must have been. So the priest could actually find out what's going on. Then he probably even went down and talked to him. He's out there walking around. in the midst of. Now this, the house for Israel, what we had here is actually this here was added. It would be about the tribe, yeah, about the tribe East Manasseh. Don't need this. And the people in the land oops, I added this. But I'm just replacing the words the house of Israel. Okay, in the midst of Bethel, about the tribe for East Manasseh, and how it's what they're going to be taken captives by swords. Whoops. Yep. Come on in. Just a second. I will get back in the next video.